Thank you, Hartley. Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Schifrin, and I call the planning board meeting to order of May 22nd, 2023 at 6:35 p.m. Roll call vote, please.
Carol Haas is present.
Robert Darian present.
Andrew Shepherd present.
Laura Schifrin present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as always, we thank our veterans and our military and all our first responders very much, always. Chairman's additions or deletions, 1.3. Okay, I'd like to add two things that were unforeseen when the agenda was posted. But if you guys will remember, at the last meeting, we did talk about the appointments necessary for NRPC and MJTC. NRPC is, and they're both the planning board reps to these regional committees. In the past, I have served on NRPC and Beth has served on MJTC on behalf of the planning board. Either one of us and neither one of us are, tied to it. So if anybody else is interested in serving on either of those,
What are the two, Laura?
it's MRPC, which is the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. And that's where we put our grants into. We are a member town.
Right, wasn't that the lady that was, no, that wasn't.
Yes, Karen Chapman was here from
Right.
MRPC.
Okay,
And so was Jonathan.
yes,
And they were describing the grant that we were part of.
right.
And Beth, do you want to describe your, it's a transportation.
Yeah,
one.
it's the Montechusett Transportation Commission. Meetings are the second Wednesday of every month at 2:30 online. They generally run for about an hour. A number of different topics: the MART transportation system, the Unified Planning Work Program document that's compiled every year, transportation improvement plan. Those are some of the transportation improvement plan is a bigger program. It's a federally funded program, and it's information is always given on grants and opportunities available to our highway department. Everything to do with roads, signage.
I work during the day. I couldn't.
Yeah, and I can't do Wednesdays because I pick up my granddaughter like right around that time.
The representative from MJTC.
And you for
MRPC.
Yeah,
I move that we have Beth and Lori serve in their previous roles as representatives of the planning board to MRPC and the MTC,
MJTC. Is
MJTC.
there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote, please.
Carol Haas says yes.
Robert Darian, yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes.
And Laura Schifrin, yes. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
Okay, next 1.5, approval of minutes. Let's take April 10th, 2023 first. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we review April 10th minutes.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes of April 10th, 2023
Did you want to make
As
that
we see.
change, or how are we doing that?
after the second?
Oh,
We'll have discussion.
Okay,
Oh,
all right, I'll second it. Or
Okay. Do you have that, Beth? There's a first and a second.
our motion first was.
Robert and Carol seconded, and there are, okay. So, Robert, I'm going to ask you to clarify your vote on, 1.5, which you weren't here, so what was heard was here versus yes. And it was actually a vote on the minutes of April 3rd. Vote was taken and it was yes for Mike Verosco, Carol Hofstas, and Laura Schifrin. And then it was heard to say here, Robert Therian, and the motion carried. Are you okay with us amending that to yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then okay, the next one was Carol Hofstas made a motion to grant the site plan special permit subject to the following conditions read on April 10th, 2023. Mike Frasco seconded, a roll call vote was taken as follows. Yes, Carol Hofstas. Robert Therian responded inaudibly, year. It sounded like year on the audio. So we're looking for a yes.
What site plan is that?
Was that the
The what?
veterinary? This was the, was it 22 Main Street.
I did vote yes.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, okay. And then then you voted that I signed the decision after that. And everybody was yes, I abstained. Okay, so that correction, you have that. It's the third paragraph on page 2. Okay. With those corrections, any other discussion? I'll take a roll call vote to approve the minutes as corrected. Okay, Carol Hofstas, yes.
Robert Therian, yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes.
And Laura Schifrin, yes. Thank you. Okay, so the next one is the May meeting. I personally don't have any discussion on this. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary to me. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 8th, 2023.
So moved.
Is there a second? Oh, second. Okay, Carol seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a roll call vote. Carol Hofstas, yes.
Robert Therian, yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes.
And Laura Schifrin, yes. Thank you very much, Beth. Good job. I know that's tough. Okay. Okay, 2, business. 2.1, Townsend MBTA Communities Compliance Mission, June Community Outreach Meeting regarding potential sites for multifamily zoning to transmit to MRPC to run the DHCD compliance model. Now, did you have a 2.1? Okay. That was this page in your packet? Okay.
That is actually just put in for your information, for your background on MBTA communities. The reason for that agenda item was brought up at the kickoff meeting that Robert and everyone strongly agreed having a community meeting at the site selection stage made sense. So I might add that we will probably be having a staff meeting as well for the same thing in town hall before that community meeting. But the whole idea of that community meeting, I believe, was to talk to the community about citing the potential.
Okay, so this is gonna be, I thought, like a public forum?
That's what I remember, yeah.
Okay,
So this is just a detail, however you want to set it up, I'll be happy to make it happen. I just want to.
who is gonna hold the public, well, I call it a forum, but it's not gonna be a hearing, it's going to be community input. Is it going to be done by the Board of Selectmen? Is it gonna be done by planning? I mean, I can see either one doing it, but I know that it would fall under planning,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, having said that, there's a timeline here
Right.
too. And do we have that timeline?
I think it's,
Well, it's set for June.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay,
I
so,
know Karen Chapman tentatively said June, and she picked a date.
she did.
I think I have it in the minutes.
Oh,
So she had picked the date, I think I put it in the May 8th minutes. She selected or suggested a date.
oh, I didn't recall that. Okay.
So it came to June or something like that.
Oh, I can't do the 15th. Oh, that's a Wednesday night. All right.
Yeah, so we could do a Wednesday, different ideas were suggested. Somebody suggested maybe a Saturday.
yeah, I heard that.
Yep, okay. So if you want to do that, we could just, look at your calendar.
What do you guys think?
I'm not sure.
For a date and time? What do you think might get more people?
Probably an evening,
I would think the evening after work for most people.
a weekday evening.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's a big topic.
Yeah, I know, I know.
We have to be prepared for this.
Well,
it's
I
kind of a random topic, if you think about it, you're inviting people that may not have any idea what we're talking about. So
Well,
we need an educator.
well, when the invitation goes out, it should be
The presentation.
explain, a presentation or something on the flyer should tell them what it is we're looking for.
Mhm.
We're looking for developable land, right?
So I would say.
For this project, to do up a model, and of course I don't have my regular calendar.
Yeah.
Here's,
I have a calendar, but I don't have my big one that has everything in it. I just pull this.
We're looking at June.
Yeah.
do you think I'm just trying to envision this open meeting or open hearing on this, it may be,
Are we gonna do it in person,
or
just?
do you
Yeah.
think the planning board should take the lead and suggest areas?
That's what I was wondering.
I think it'd be less confusing for the public.
Yeah, well, we already know that town-owned properties will not.
Are,
be
right, they're disqualified.
We also already know how much space is protected, how much state land and land is preserved already. That can't be in the list, so, I would.
It's pretty limited, and I think what would be ideal, in my mind, is that someone who has land, speaks up and says, oh, I have so many acres. I wouldn't mind that being put into, I know people don't like to give up their land, but, but there may be somebody who has a lot of land that would, well, what does this mean when it goes into the model for development? What if the person who owns the land doesn't want to do the development, but would sell the land? How does that work?
I think we're taking the wrong approach there. This overlay district does not compel anything to be built. All right? So what we're designated is areas of town where this would be allowed. And whether somebody has land in that area or not, then they would have input into what their thoughts were. But this is long-term planning here. And so a current landowner may not be one in the future. So I think what the intent of this is to say, where in the town would we possibly make up this requirement? And also within this, it doesn't have to be, it could be many smaller sites. In other words, you could just have 1 acre in one spot of town or 15 there and collectively use all these little parcels to meet the requirement. So I think that is very important for the people to understand. And it doesn't mean that this is going to happen tomorrow, that it's also going to be areas where developers could have an opportunity to develop, but doesn't mandate development. And so as far as the state's concerned, the burden on the town is to designate potential areas where this can be done. That's our requirement. Our obligation is to provide the zoning for it. The issues about development and how big an area it is not a mandate.
So how would you select the parcels?
Well, I think I have a general knowledge of town. You have an even broader one.
Well, I don't know, because I can't tell you where.
Well, so that's what I mean. So I think as far as I suggest, or I think one approach would be to look at our current town, our zoning, identify areas where this would have potential. It does not mean that they have to have water and storage right now or anything. It just means this is where in town that we are meeting the requirements of the state. So, and then I think that the planning board should suggest how this can be done and where it may be done, and be able to justify why we came up with that opinion, and then present that to the town. I think is the proper approach. I don't want to create a lot of anxiousness within the community here. Just explain to them what we have to do and where we've selected this. And it doesn't mean it doesn't mean, as far as I understand that, if we designate an area, it doesn't mean that whole area has to be used there either. We just have to have a number of areas so that collectively we could accommodate that. In other words, if somebody is in an area and wants to do something, build a house instead of a multifamily unit, I think that could be allowed in our zoning bylaw as a right, okay? And if that were the case, and the planning board so in other words, if we have a specific district for that, and then somebody in that district says, well, I was planning to use that acreage for my kid's house in the future, I don't know if that would mean a special permit or, but the obligation is to have that land available within the community. So, and the other question that comes up is that we have other housing program requirements that are coming from different focus groups. And so I think that we may be able to have an overlay district that's all encompassing. Okay, so we've met the requirements. How it gets used is a product of developers and development or individuals. So I think that's what we can do. And I think that makes a lot of sense because there are so many different types of housing programs that are coming down. And so if we made this MBA district to be part of a general overlay district, other options would be available. And that would be less stressful to any private property owner, not knowing that's all he can do with that.
Okay. So just a question. We are more than a third of this town is state-owned,
Yes.
town-owned, everything else owned. If we took that off the map, we took all the town properties off the map, we took the churches off, we took
Right.
all the farmland off,
That's right.
okay? What is left? And
Well,
when,
Yeah, if I may, that meeting that was discussed at the kickoff meeting
Mhm.
was a new thing. It's not on the scope with the DLTA grant. It's something that was discussed at the kickoff meeting as what I gathered you wanted to do. I wonder if you want to rethink that and sort of do the work in a work session, look at these parcels, because I really think if you go to the public and ask them where these parcels should go,
no, it would have to have explanation, you know, with it.
I'm not sure that that makes sense.
But what I just said was, I don't know, so I just want to eliminate everything that is not possible.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think we need to start with that. Everything that's not possible, this is what we're left with. I mean,
So that's something that we should have MRPC do, right?
how quickly can they do that? This is May 22nd.
We could probably do it faster than we could.
I know Open Space was working on that sort of,
So-
mapping, right? I mean,
Yeah.
There's.
Yeah, I mean,
But
plus
there's a lot
the
of
open
space
space,
too, so.
it would really be interesting to see is just what do we have left? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
And what that looks like on a map before we do anything.
Okay,
Right.
so I can ask that
I agree.
question, and then you guys, if you want to have that public meeting for that purpose, then I'll arrange it. Or, it's not in the scope, it's not in the scope.
I think in terms of a public meeting, the public needs something to focus on.
Right.
And if we just have an open meeting, we're gonna get,
Well, what were they
Bombarded
asking for
with
the
all
public
kinds of
meeting for? So let's go back to that.
Well, it was at the May kickoff meeting, Robert, I think you were pretty sure that you wanted to have a public meeting with the Board of Selectmen, to talk about the parcels that we would be submitting to MRPC to run the model. That.
The model
maybe
for,
The model for compliance, so that the parcel goes into the machine, if you will, and MRPC says, yes, it complies, or no, it doesn't, based on the model that they're using. And if it's a go, if it's a green light, then it can be in the bylaw, if you will, so that parcel can be, added to the bylaw, like we did with the, chapter 43D. You'd identify the parcel in that zoning, and that would go to town meeting.
right,
That would be your zoning, yeah, it's
so
an overlay district.
what I'm suggesting here. I don't know if it'll fly. But if we did an overlay district that encompassed 42B, all of these things. We've gone to the state and we said, yeah, this is available here, if a developer wants to do that. Or somebody wants to do a 42B there. So that's what, because if we follow what Laura is saying, if we designated parcels specifically for each one of these entities, we don't have enough land for it. Okay, so the obvious answer is, let's put it all in one bucket.
Yeah, that was my thought. Whatever, when we look at whatever is left.
Yeah.
Okay. We just make that an overlay district.
Yeah,
I like that.
Whatever
And
is
then we
left,
say
and then
this
you have
is-
all these things that
you're
you're
in it.
able to do within this district.
we tell the MTBA that you're in it.
Right, because Karen stated that at the kickoff meeting.
Right.
If you have the overlay district, it can be either the overlay or the underlying criteria, the zoning, so.
It's just an
And they would be by
allowable
right.
use in that area, that's it.
So whoever the owner was, that's by right.
Yes,
You choose whichever way you want to go.
that's correct.
That's the only thing we can do, because otherwise we're just gonna sit around scratching our heads about different parcels that, you know, unless you did a site walk everywhere, I really think we need to know what's left.
Okay. So that's the question then I'll pose to MRPC, and Karen will know that, she knows all the parcels in Townsend. And I don't know that, that public meeting then will be necessary at that time, I think you need more.
Well, for example, we have current right now districts that allow industry, that allow business and allow commercial uses.
Yeah, we have mixed
Right.
zoning.
And within those bylaws, it tells you what other things you can do. So I think we just take that big umbrella, pick up the areas we already have to collect the acreage and make it available to whatever program people want to participate in.
Okay,
So eliminate town property, eliminate environmentally sensitive areas, however they're.
Or aquifer areas.
Yeah, aquifer protected, the aquifer overlay.
Right, you
open space.
want to protect the historic areas.
Historic districts.
And I don't know if we have to concern ourselves with wetlands or not.
Yeah,
Well, I would think you can't build on wetlands.
yeah.
You just have to provide the acreage.
Oh, okay. Swap land down in
You agree with
Florida.
me, Andrews? Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, okay. Works for me.
And then see what falls out. What she
Hey,
said.
we'll hear, if they don't like it, we'll hear about it, but
What we think of.
it's not like we are not doing something.
I would recommend if they still want, after we get that,
Okay,
if they still want, a meeting, if they still want a community meeting, is that gonna be necessary for the DLTA?
I don't think so, but that was something that was discussed from the town side,
Right.
not in RPC, because it's not in the.
Oh, I really think that once they give us that and we look at it, if there's something after work session, whatever, we feel this has to come before the town,
Mhm.
that we can get input.
I think the real answer is at probably September's town meeting or whatever. We propose to the town the overlay district. And then tell the town that this handles all these other things.
Yeah.
That's what.
That would be a
MRPC
good
proposed,
catch-all.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's how the scope and timeline are written.
right. I think makes great sense to do that.
So we're meeting on the 12th and the 26th of June.
Yeah.
So see what you can come up with before the 12th.
Okay, yeah.
We'll have that on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, sound good?
Yes.
Okay, 2.2, planning board regulations and zoning bylaws review and discussion. Do we have something in particular? 2.2, we've got some general provisions here. Is this what we want to take up now, or was there something more pressing that, Carol, did you have stuff for us?
For which one?
No,
People-
not 2.2, but,
Um,
are any of these other things something that Carol was doing?
On the master plan?
Oh, yeah, we talked about that. I'm not even sure what I was supposed to do. I actually looked at it today after Beth reminded me, because it is like,
Okay,
oh yeah, I kind of remember that, but I
okay,
looked at the housing document and the master plan sections, of the housing section in the housing
okay,
plan.
okay,
And I guess I didn't really see anything that I was gonna,
recommend,
yeah, there wasn't. Cause I re-looked at the housing document. And then I looked at the master plan, those couple of sections that talked about housing. And I just couldn't figure out anything that needed to be changed.
okay, so we're in a work session, and these general provisions are, we did this before in another section of the bylaws. We had said that we would, this is the bylaws, right? 175-9.
That's where the board, drops, you got through 175.8.
Yeah, and so this is the next one.
And then you also did, the, site plan review special permit after that.
Yeah,
And that's, so that was included in, if you want to prioritize the A and R, I know the A and R regs need a little bit of tweaking, so I mean, you can go right to the A and R, or you can go sequentially through the code, whatever makes sense.
well, this one is sequentially, right?
Yep.
The one that's
That's
in front. Okay,
175-9.
so this can take a little bit longer, and so it's a little meatier. Would it make sense? Well, we know we're not gonna do 2.4 tonight. So would it make sense for us to do all the correspondence, get that out of the way, and then do this for work session? And get
Yes,
maybe this completed tonight, okay?
yes.
So correspondence, 3.1, announce planning board vacancies. Yes, we still have a vacancy on the planning board. At this point, it would be an appointment, so that would be for 1 year. 3.2, online permitting service launch. I did take a look at this today.
Oh, yeah, good.
I didn't try it.
Well, if you don't have a permit, I wouldn't try.
Yeah.
You don't need a permit.
Yeah, but I wanted to see how it would work for somebody.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, sure.
Is that what we paid all that money for?
Oh, God,
Which,
I don't
It's a
know.
building department, they got all the money, so
Um,
it's launched through the building
Yeah,
department.
I couldn't launch it on the
Well,
computer.
Most towns have them now, and it's really, is.
well,
Yeah.
you open an account.
Mhm.
There's no fee to register, but you register. And so I did not go that far, but I looked at what they gave you for information. By not going in and registering, I couldn't figure out, I wanted to navigate the form, okay?
Yeah,
and I didn't get to that. So I'm hoping, I guess what I'll say to anybody who's watching this is that permitting is now online. And if you're interested in, or you need a permit, it's electrical, plumbing, or building. They're all online. So hopefully it works.
yeah, and I would say they recommend using Firefox as a browser.
Firefox
Firefox,
as the
yeah.
browser.
And it is a little finicky, we found already, so.
Oh,
It's just building department permits at this point. But I've
Okay.
been uploading, permits that have been issued, the stormwater management
Yeah.
permits, I've been uploading those, so. We're tying in, but we won't be issuing any planning board decisions, or you can't apply for a site plan review through that right now, it's
Oh.
just building.
Oh,
Which is great, yeah, it's gonna work really well.
Well, hopefully they work out all the kinks before something else. Okay, 3.3, EOS memo, annual appointments and reappointments. That was just a memo that came from the Board of Selectmen's office, that if we had any appointments or reappointments, to give them to do that ASAP for June, right?
Right, and there are none.
Yeah.
Michael was, we did through.
And then just for our information, you gave us the online source for biomaps.
Yeah.
Um,
That's just informational, if in fact someone's applying for a permit, I think it just helps us to all be aware of what areas require a permit from the state. And that would be natural heritage, for endangered species.
okay,
Try to keep the information flowing so that, you know, a project is going on and we don't, you know, at the last minute, think, oh, did you get this permit?
Yeah.
Is that gonna work with the permitting?
Software? Well, you mean the online permit,
Yeah.
permanently? No, it's a state permit that this is primarily looking at. It's for natural heritage, really, for identifying areas that are protected and there are endangered species and things like that. So, it won't mesh with our local permitting.
So how do you get to it?
Oh, it's
Oh, it must be
right
the
on
state.
mass.gov. There's a link there. I gave you a handout in your packet,
yeah, it's in,
so.
it was in the portal.
It's very
It was in the portal
user-friendly,
too.
really easy to use, just to play around with it.
Okay, 3.5, table of principal use regulations approved and posted.
That's something that, was presented by Michael Crowley.
Oh, okay.
So it's now online. It's just a great reference for
Okay,
anybody who.
just a reference dot,
Yeah.
okay. 3.6, MassDOT fiscal 24 to fiscal 28 capital investment plan.
Yeah, just carrying through information. There's a handout in your packet and, with general information carried forward on that plan. There's a public comment period if you'd like to make comments.
Oh, this is for transportation. Interesting, we'll see how far we go with our bus. You know what I wanted to ask? Well, I was thinking about the bus and it goes to Fitchburg and it comes back. Is it just for residents of Townsend or
Anyone,
anyone? Hmm.
because that was asked, where was I? I was at some meeting and that question came up. Because they said it was for anyone, and I think it's free for the first year.
Yeah.
And then if, I guess if we keep it, then there's a fee after that.
But
Yeah.
It's one trip in the morning, one trip at night, is that
No, I
correct?
think it's more than
Two,
that.
three.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more than
Okay.
that.
It's more than one.
2 in the morning, 2 in the evening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every day of the week.
Every day of the week?
I believe it's every day. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I believe that's what it said.
That'd be interesting. I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. It may be really great for some college students too, you know, that don't have cars or whatever. This may just work really well. So hopefully there's not a downside.
So with somebody like tracking, like how much it's used to determine whether they keep it or not.
Yeah.
It's a pilot program?
This is
Well,
not a
first
pilot.
time.
I haven't heard it called a pilot.
No, but it's a
program,
first time.
Yeah.
No, because MART exists. I mean, those buses already exist to other areas. It's the first time for Townsend.
Okay.
Yeah, they go through towns and they get the petrol. So I'm very excited they're coming to town.
Right.
Did the lieutenant
Interesting.
governor come?
I was going to come to petrol, I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Get back.
Okay, let's go to 3.7, notices from other towns. Andrew?
I was looking for my nice printout that I had of it, but I have it in my email too.
Yeah, I wrote you a summary if you're interested. in
Yeah, you can
reading
just
the
do the summary.
I know there were, off the top of my head, on the drive now, there were 2 from Ashby I saw. Notices from other town, there it is.
Put together a summary for you if you want to read it.
Wait, is it in the SharePoint?
Oh, no, it printed it out for you. Should be in your packet.
I put it in a very safe location. Like,
Yeah, I use the same location.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Trouble
it should
finding it
also-
after.
It should be online. It could be online too. I think I put
The
it.
correspondence was in the portal.
Yeah, so it's just, I made
Yeah,
him.
that's
So,
what
it
is
is.
it the clerk summary?
There you go, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Um,
Fantastic.
Wasn't there only 2? Did they only read 2?
Yeah, okay, we got, see, there's 2 from Ashby, 1 from Groton, 1 from Lunenburg, 1 from Pepperell, and 3 from Shirley. The quick summary, you want an abridged summary, or you want to just read it as what's,
Well,
What's
usually
the,
we're interested in decisions,
okay, all right,
like, have they made a decision? Like on,
sure, sure.
you know, accessory apartments or change of use or stuff like that, you know?
Got it. So Ashby were 2 notice of public hearings, for the end of the month. One was a special permit for auto sales at 804 Pittsburgh Road. The other was expansion of a non-conforming structure at 12 Ingerson Road.
Oh.
Groton, had a notice of decision, definite plan approval on Pepperell Road. Lunenburg, notice of decision, change of site plan approval for the day center, for developmentally disabled challenged youth at 39 Main Street. In Pepperell, it was a public hearing for early June. Adaptive reuse of former Peter's Fitzpatrick School. Shirley, 2 notice of decisions, 1 a site plan review for a warehouse building, related to use regulations, 3 Patterson Road. Another notice of decision on storm water management permit, warehouse building, 3 Patterson Road. And then zoning board of appeals, notice of public hearing, that'll be the end of June. Variance on a front yard setback on Great Road.
That kind of thing, you know, so if we encounter something like that,
Sure,
it's good to look at like towns or situations
how they
and
did
what
it.
they did, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Sure.
Okay, so taking care of all that stuff, we can go to 2.2. Now, and everybody has that packet. And how would you guys like to do it? You want to take turns reading a paragraph? And we decide whether or not we should, a lot of times we're just tweaking a word or eliminating a sentence. In fact, one of those things that we did site plan review was at this last annual meeting. It was just edits. Okay, just kind of cleaning up what we already had. Want to go first?
Yeah, let's read the first
Yeah, just
paragraph.
read the first one and we'll follow and see if something needs to
Sure.
be changed.
Section A, no person shall make a subdivision within the meaning of the subdivision control law of any land within the town or proceed with the improvement or sale of lots in a subdivision or the construction of ways or the installation of municipal services therein, unless and until a definitive plan of such subdivision has been submitted to and approved by the planning board as hereinafter provided. No person shall divide land without complying with these regulations and first obtaining from the planning board approval of the definitive plan for the proposed subdivision or the endorsement. Approval under the subdivision control law not required upon such plan.
Okay, so that almost sounds like the preamble to what we're gonna do, right?
Can I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
As we go through these different sections of the bylaw, my general consensus of what we have, most of it doesn't need a lot of modification.
Right,
I would be interested in knowing what issues come out of that section of the bylaw from the building department. In other words, where there's
ambiguity,
right? Or even from the land use coordinator. That way we can just focus on what problems we really are having without having to go through everything.
I think this is like our exercise. Something we don't get to do that much. So I think that was just kind of, something that we promised ourselves last year, that we weren't gonna let this go any longer, so this was gonna become part of our work
That's
session.
correct. And I'm still an advocate of doing that. I'm just saying, the time required to go through every paragraph, may be better spent just identifying from these two other agencies where they're having difficulties or where the definitions need to be clarified. And then we can focus on just those sections. And the part of the reason I'm saying that is I think the real pressure coming to this board is going to be this overlay district stuff that we have to get ready for a town meeting. And so these are, what we're doing is exactly what we said we were gonna do, is review these and clean them up, put more clarity in them. I think to go through the whole bylaw in this approach, we may be able to correct a lot of things as we progress. But the parts that we don't complete could have even more, more of a significance or more, where we don't get to it. So I'd like to have this board think about, should we approach the building department and the land use coordinator of any things that they think in the bylaw that are a challenge or needs to be clarified. It's the same way we had with the building department was getting all concerned about the soil removal. Remember when the way it was written, every applicant had to get a permit to move a minimum amount of earth. So I think that way we'll be more effective. We'll address the things that are a problem right now.
Beth? Well, number one, there's a new land use coordinator, right? Who's just starting,
Yeah, coming in July.
coming in July. So we cannot get that information from the land use coordinator. We could from the building inspector, I assume, or zoning board of appeals.
Well, if I may, the building commissioner, when there is a problem, brings it to the planning board's attention. Do you remember, I don't know if you were on board, the poultry one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he will bring it to the attention of the planning board. And he is the one that does the determinations on all projects. They go first to the building commissioner. So yeah, it's a great point. What I can do now is just ask him if he has a little laundry list that he keeps, by his computer of sticky notes of problem areas and get those from them, sure.
Well, I guess what I was really trying to suggest is not stop what we were doing, but have the building department aware of where we are in it, what sections we're working on right now.
Okay.
And then we can really focus on those and probably be able to accomplish more.
Or if, like you said, if he's having an issue, we may address that before we address,
yes,
something else, and
Right.
that's fine.
okay.
That's fine, that's a good
No, but
idea.
I mean, if he's aware of where we are in our review,
Mm-hmm.
he can just take half an hour at lunch or something, look in that section we're looking at
Mm-hmm.
and put his thoughts in. And
Okay. Yeah.
I think that would make things go faster and then and he'll obviously know we're thinking about it.
I have to stand up. If I may make another point, the zoning board of appeals, I'm the admin for them as well. They will also, do you remember the, dog grooming?
Yeah.
That came through?
Right,
That was initiated by the ZBA, so a lot of times when these boards are working, they will,
They'll bring it to our
find a
attention
note
and we make the tweak.
and bring it to the board. Yeah, and
Okay.
it helps to have me working for both boards because I.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
What hat do you have on today, Beth?
Oh, that was
So-
which is
so
the
why
great
don't
thing
we-
about this job.
Okay, so why don't we just, because I don't want to be here all night either.
No,
So
okay,
why don't we just try to get something done?
all right.
And just at a quick glance, as we're doing this, sometimes you'll see 10 days or 14 days or 1 month.
Mhm.
Think about, does that sound reasonable? Like, is that, because I know that sometimes that is something that we've changed or we've said, oh God, that doesn't seem to
Yeah.
work, kind of thing. So this will be the time to do that.
Okay.
It's not monumental. It shouldn't be a big discussion at the annual meeting or the special town meeting, wherever the warrant is presented.
Right,
So I think after going through what you have like the last 5 years, it's something that we said that needs to be done,
Mhm.
okay? And I think there's enough people sitting around the table here now to say, oh, that doesn't sound right, or geez, no, that's fine, you wouldn't change it, okay? So I'll go next.
number
B,
5 on that, B5,
no, next was B.
say what?
Next is B.
Oh, no, I know,
We agreed A was the preamble and
Yeah.
nobody had a problem, okay?
Okay.
Right? All right, employment of outside consultants. 1, for any application under these rules and regulations, the board may employ an outside consultant at the expense of the applicant. Fields for which the board may require a consultant include but are not limited to any relevant engineering field, architect, landscaped architects, soil scientists, hydrologists, environmental scientists, botanists, attorneys, professional planner, real estate appraiser or broker, licensed construction supervisors, licensed contractors, etc.
that's fine.
That's usually where we do a peer review,
Yeah, so engineers.
and it could be any one of those.
Yes, so and it also says includes but not limited to,
Yeah,
if there's any other thing that stands out, the big thing now is stormwater management, so you could.
you want to insert that
probably
since
put
we,
that.
yeah.
Licensed, erosion control, but it's all in there, I think it's great.
Well, I don't see erosion control or stormwater management, and that's a new
Soil science.
bylaw.
Wouldn't that be a soil scientist?
So a scientist is a bit different, you
Is
can
it?
be an environmental, soil monitor, like an erosion control monitor licensed by the state, but you don't have to be full soil scientist. It's probably splitting hairs.
I think it's all encompassing though. It says ETC.
And it's not
Yeah.
limited, it's not limited to, so.
Right, so in other words, every project's gonna have its own parameters and
Yeah.
issues, so.
Yes.
So that
It's up
falls
to-
under licensed construction supervisors and, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
Robert, do you want to take two?
sure. Where circumstances warrant, in the opinion of board, a specialist or individual with special expertise in a field may be required. It's just an extension of number one, I think.
Yeah. Do you think it's necessary?
I know, I'm wondering, it seems a little repetitive, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's almost,
You know, the document's long enough, we don't need to repeat,
you wanna take that out?
Yeah, we can, yeah, it's,
Right, then.
we covered
Yeah,
everything.
because it already says in
Right.
the
We're
above
already-
that you could do what two says, right?
Yes.
A little overzealous here.
Okay.
On, back to number one,
Mhm.
should we do outside consultant or specialist? Are those the same things?
Board may require a consultant, include but not limited to.
I guess while striking two, if we just added the word specialist, I guess I'm wondering if
Oh, because that
Consultant and
specialist is not there.
are the same.
Specialist,
Oh, inside consultant or specialist?
I don't,
Split hairs.
not necessarily. I would think a consultant would be licensed and certified.
Sure,
A specialist I can say I'm a specialist in
sure,
growing grass or something.
sure,
I
yeah,
don't know.
sure,
I mean.
yeah, maybe we take that off.
sure.
Leave that off altogether.
Leave it off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because he's right, anybody can call themselves a specialist or an expert. There's no license that goes behind that,
sure.
okay?
All right.
Yeah, okay, good point. Carol, 3.
Okay, the board will normally require the fees to cover the cost of outside consultants to be deposited in advance with the town in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, I think, is that chapter 44, section 53G. Such fees will be deposited in a separate account, and any amounts remaining in said account after the completion of the associated project will be refunded to the applicant or successor in accordance with these rules as said state law. When the expense of such consultants exceeds the currently available funds in the 53G account, the applicant is required to provide such additional and appropriate funds within 14 days of notification by the board of the required amount.
Okay, so that is something that happens.
Is 2 weeks reasonable?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? It could be a real expense for somebody to come up with that money and
But then again,
What's been your experience, Beth? Has that ever happened while you've been here?
Oh, the applicant providing additional funds? Yes, it has.
Okay,
Yeah, there have been overruns, so
and, do they pay pretty quick or?
it works pretty well. We've had it happen a few times.
Okay,
all right, my next question is, what happens if they don't pay? Does it mean the application has to start over?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's
nobody's ever not paid.
Never would, because we're in that spot.
Okay.
What's the nature of the jobs or the scenarios where it does overrun? Is it a big project typically requires a lot of resources or?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think,
So
yeah,
it's like roads
Well, this would be
or,
I think there were significant revisions and then had to be reviewed again. So that's usually what happens. That it's a subdivision and there's a good amount of revisions, so you have to go back. And forth on it. It doesn't happen often. And in fact, I remember the former chair really did not want that happening because it can be cumbersome, for a project to be permitted if you have to keep going back for more. But it's only happened, I think.
so I think what she's saying is that the job had to go back for revisions and it was more time consuming for the town staff.
No, the consultant, so
Oh,
therefore.
our consultant?
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah, then
consultant's
they have to
already
pay
hired and under contract that had to review plans. An
again,
additional set of time, yeah.
right,
Then
they
that
had
was
to pay for
in the
that.
budget, yeah, was in
Yeah.
the original.
So that would be the extra money. Yeah, okay.
I would think if the applicant is going that far, they'll probably just pay.
Oh, yeah, they're not gonna stop it.
And that's what-
I don't think there has to be any language or forfeit their application or start over again, right?
No.
After they've invested that kind of money.
Is 14 days work, do you think?
14 days is long, I mean.
That's
when
what
you're
I
trying-
thought. He thought short, I thought long.
I think it's long, yeah, I mean, any
What about
process you wanna try to expedite.
You want to go 10, split it?
7?
I like 10.
But I like to give them that window, you know, if they do need to secure financing or whatever reason.
But I think 10 days is enough.
Yeah,
again-
I don't think it's,
I think 14's fine.
yeah, I don't think it's worth changing.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause it
Okay.
has
That's fine.
worked.
Okay.
And the applicant understands it's their delay, you know, I mean.
They're
they have to
delayed,
wait for
right.
the next planning board meeting, they have to wait for the
Right.
consultant to review.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, and I don't think they hold off on it either. I think they get it in. They're not gonna wait till the 14th day.
Oh, no, that's not from my experience.
That's the
Right.
window between planning board meetings, 14
Yeah,
days.
basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's probably why it was written
You
that
have till
way.
the next meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, 4th.
The choice of outside consultant may be appealed to the Board of Selectmen. The grounds for such an appeal shall be limited to claims that the consultant selected has a conflict of interest or does not possess the minimum required qualifications. The minimum qualifications shall consist either of an educational degree in or related to the field at issue, or 3 or more years of practice in the field at issue or a related field. The required time limits for action upon an application by the board shall be extended by the duration of the administrative appeal. In the event that no decision is made by the Board of Selectmen within 1 month following the filing of the appeal, the selection made by the planning board shall stand. Parentheses, but may be appealed to the courts.
Rarely happens.
Right, because that would just delay things.
I think that's in there because of state law, would be my guess,
Oh,
probably.
Yeah.
okay.
Whose consultant are we talking about?
I think it seems to be the town,
Hmm?
or ours, the one we
It would be ours or would it be the applicant's?
It's one that we pick. So is that again peer review?
Yeah.
Okay, so we pick it, she goes out to bid,
Mhm.
okay? And sometimes we hope that we get 2, but sometimes 1 or sometimes 3, right? And then we look at who they are, or you look at who they are, and then suggest to the board who we should use. And generally, it is the one that's on the lower side, so that it's not costing the applicant more money than it needs to, right?
And the new town administrator has said that it's fine to work with one consultant. So that is a new process. So we are pretty much working with one right now. And he is the lowest.
Okay.
Categorically, and he is the most efficient at that firm.
Okay, well, that's good, except I think the option still needs to be there. And I think that, just my opinion from looking at it for an applicant, that there should be a choice. So if they said, well, is that the only one you can come up with? You can say, oh, no, we did get 2 bids and you're welcome to look at the other one and it's what, $3,000 more or
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah,
You know-
that's what I do.
Okay, I really think that's better than saying we're only dealing with one. You know, you can have the choice, it's just gonna cost you whatever it is,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll continue that.
me, 5, the planning board will normally allow 10 days between the selection of a consultant and the start of work to give the applicant an opportunity to file such an appeal. But will begin work sooner if approval is given by the applicant, and I'm thinking it says it does, by the applicant. If such appeal is made, the applicant shall notify the planning board by certified mail immediately after filing such an appeal with the Board of Selectmen. The planning board, at its earliest opportunity after receiving such a notification, shall direct the consultant to cease work until the appeal is resolved. The applicant shall be liable for all costs due to the consultant prior to the direction of the cease work. That's just a clarification of what the process is, right?
Yeah.
I don't see anything change there.
I don't either.
Okay, Robert, 6,
To the extent that services are provided by town council under a flat rate retainer, such services will not be charged directly to the applicant. However, should circumstances require employment of outside counsel, for example, due to a conflict of interest, or otherwise be billed to the town for a specific service related to an application, then such fees will be paid out of the 53G account or by the applicant. This section does not preclude the charging of some amount of fees for specific legal services performed by town council, with such fees paid to the town to offset the cost of the town's retainer with town council.
okay. And 53G is the account that the applicant puts their money into, right? Okay. Okay, so to me anyway, the other good thing about doing this is that we actually get to read and hear and discuss
How it
what it is
works.
that everybody else does. And I will say that in 5 years, I've not read every word, okay? And so
Yeah.
this gives us some knowledge, right?
Yeah.
It does.
Okay.
You want to do C?
Yes,
Waivers.
waivers.
Waivers. C1, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81R, the board may waive strict compliance with these rules or regulations. Such waiver may only be granted if the planning board first reaches a finding that such waiver is both in the public interest and not inconsistent with the intent and purpose of the subdivision control law and these rules and regulations. 2, it is the responsibility of the applicant to identify all waivers that are required. Except where otherwise specified, all requests for waivers must be explicit, complete, in writing, and submitted at the time of application. And 3, no waiver may be inferred from any decision by the board unless the board votes specifically to grant the waiver, in parentheses, separately from the overall decision, close parentheses, and such vote is recorded in the minutes of the board.
And that is how we do waivers.
Right, no, that's only applies to subdivision, correct?
No,
That's what I'm reading here, right? Then we'll put
does
this-
that only, apply to subdivisions? Because it seems to me that we've had other people before
I
us
mean,
asking for
this would apply
waivers.
to other things, but
Yeah,
this particular part,
It's
I
for
believe-
it's for subdivision control.
for subdivision.
I see that in 1.
Yeah.
So this would be all about subdivision. So
Yeah,
This is all
okay, so
about
that one is all
subdivisions,
about
right.
subdivision. but waivers must come up someplace else.
Yeah, I'm sure there's waivers for other sections.
Okay, Andrew, D fees.
All expenses incurred by the town for processing an application shall be borne by the applicant. Whenever an extraordinary expense occurs that is not covered by the fee structure, such items may be billed directly to the applicant. Fees are divided into application, consulting, and supplemental fees. Let me just read this.
Yeah.
Application fees must accompany any application before the board under these rules and regulations. They are intended to cover the general costs to the town of processing the application, excluding costs covered by the more specific fees. The general costs may include indirect costs. Example, the cost to the assessor and tax collector to update their records after the granting of an A&R. Application fees are deposited into the general treasury of the town.
I never knew that one. Beth? Have there been costs to the assessor and tax collector that have been paid?
Those are in the A&R fee, yeah.
Oh,
those
in
are-
the A&R fee?
MRPC will, take the A&R plan and update using the, digital file. So it is a
Oh.
service that we get from,
Okay,
as part of our.
because I've never seen that before.
Yeah, so that's all covered in
Okay,
the application fee for A&R.
4, consulting fees are fees to cover the costs of outside consultants and are handled according to the provisions of subsection B of this section. 5, supplemental fees are fees to cover the costs to the town of specific services, where such services may be clearly identified or quantified and can be expected to vary depending on the project. Examples include the cost of inspections by the town highway department, review of bonds, deeds, easements, or other documents by town council, etc. 6, if a fee paid by check or other non-cash method is returned or otherwise uncollectible, then the applicant shall be liable to the town for all costs incurred as a result. No resubmission of the application will be accepted unless accompanied by both by the fees due under the application and the additional amounts required under this section. The planning board may require that all future amounts due with relation to this application or related applications before the planning board be made by certified or cashier's check. If a fee is returned or otherwise uncollectible prior to a decision, then the application will be rejected as incomplete. If a fee is returned or otherwise uncollectible subsequent to a decision, then any approval of such application is automatically rescinded. 7, it is the policy of the board to waive application and supplemental fees for application submitted on behalf of the town, excluding the water department, regional school district, or other town agencies that are largely financially separate from the town, and any project for which revenue other than the town's property tax or normal state aid is applicable. This is specifically because charging a fee in such cases would be accounted as an expenditure of some budgeted item and as general revenue, without any real explicit cost to the town.
Good. I didn't see anything.
On number 5, I was just wondering if under examples, you could put examples include the cost of inspections by the town highway department. You might want to add in the building commissioner and the stormwater agent, because there are field inspections sometimes for stormwater management permits.
Yeah,
I don't know, kind of like about here, how do they do it? Including but not limited to? Maybe a sentence or,
and synthesis with the cost.
Well, those are just examples, though, right?
and they do mention one, the highway department.
Yeah. Easements were the documents that.
Those could surface from a lot of different
Review of
sources, right?
bonds, deeds, those are more
So the main
legal
ones that
and,
go out on site visits would be building commissioner,
That's
stormwater.
okay,
During the subdivision development.
right,
Right,
Yeah.
especially the stormwater,
I don't see the town highway department going out as much.
as they do. Yeah,
It would be at the end of the project, checking the culverts and that, but I think the building commissioner or the building inspector and his inspection team would be more likely in stormwater.
so
So-
can we insert that before town highway, because they would do more? Inspections by the building department, stormwater management, and highway departments?
well, these would be inspections prior to any approval. I mean, no, town departments going to a reference project site to evaluate things in advance of applying for subdivision.
You know, what
No.
this is saying is if the planning board decides they wanna collect supplemental fees
Fees,
for town staff doing inspections, this is where it's done. So it's done up front, you know, when you get an idea of what your project is gonna involve, you're gonna, estimate your consultant fees, and then you could look at staff time and say, I need the building commissioner to go out to check this and that can be charged to the applicant. It just gives flexibility.
and that goes into that
It's not-
53G
Well,
account
Supplemental fee.
up front.
Wouldn't the water department be one of those?
Water department?
Yeah, I mean, and the building inspector has got points where they have to go.
Right.
The stormwater agent's a little different because
Could
you're,
we just say inspection by the town departments instead of naming them all?
yeah.
Okay.
Including, and then just leave the highway in there and then
Or just stick
No,
with
I would just
highway?
do, just do town departments.
departments or
Yeah.
town staff.
Yeah, get rid of
Authorized
the
town
highway.
staff.
It just, instead of naming every department,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
put town departments.
Yeah, or staff, yeah, qualified staff or
So
licensed.
you wanted
Yeah.
town staff?
Town staff.
Authorized staff, you don't want just.
No, not staff, I think
Like
department.
departments is better.
Department heads, yeah, because you would want the department head to do that inspection. Okay. Okay, those are the thoughts. You want to just put department head by town departments, or just take out highway?
Inspections
highway.
by town departments.
Yeah,
Add an S department and.
Yeah.
Highway.
yes.
Just, having watched the last planning board review of regulations at town meeting, this is just a general note, I imagine if someone reads in detail all that we're changing, they could say, sounds like you're expanding what one could be taxed for, or what one could be assessed fees for, so I think,
It is,
but, I mean, not really, because it's already, I mean, it feels like is it? But I guess I would just maybe hope to instill in us that we just remind them like, hey, this is just the normal town business, and,
Mhm.
we're just clarifying the language, as you guys said the last meeting.
right, and so, because of we learned a lesson, I learned a lesson at the last town meeting, I think we did, that the next time we bring this forward, there's gonna be a strikeout
Sure.
of what is
What was
being
said.
eliminated, what it was,
Right.
and now what it says,
Yeah, right,
Okay.
yeah.
which was not, which I think caused all the,
Confusion.
Well, just for point of clarification, it actually was, the handouts were printed and available. I don't know where they went,
I
but
saw them, they
You saw
were,
them, yeah.
the red was, yeah, I saw
They were-
that.
was it highlighted? Cause I
Yes.
didn't get one.
No, they had two
yeah, they were
colors.
that's where you registered, they were on the table there,
There was
right along with
handouts.
the town reports.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
It was,
How many, did you pick it up?
I don't care, so.
Yeah. So I don't think, I was up in the balcony, I don't think most of those people had it.
Yeah,
So
That's too bad.
Um,
I know, because I watched the meeting afterwards and I was like, wait a minute, there was.
well, you know what? The next time that the planning board has something that they're presenting, planning board's gonna hand them out
Or put it on the screen.
before, yeah, well, who does that?
Yeah, I felt a little
Yeah.
controlled by that too.
Yeah.
But maybe I should mention this. Is this an open meeting here?
Yeah, so we're on record, everybody's gonna get to watch us on TV.
Well, my experience when we did that at the town meeting, is, I think there was a lot of pressure to control the time on the meeting. And somebody handed me a document for me to read. And, I knew what we were gonna say, and, so I didn't feel that comfortable with that. Anyway, I don't wanna say any more about it. Yeah.
All right, let's go to E, and it's me. Burden of proof. 1, the burden of proof in all matters before the board shall be on the applicant. 2, the submissions required by the board for any application form the basis of such proof. However, this does not imply that the burden of proof may always be met by the required submissions. Where additional information may be necessary to satisfy the burden of proof in a particular situations, then such information is required, even though it may not be an explicit requirement for the application.
What does that?
How can we clarify that? I was just gonna say, how can we clarify that?
What
Yeah.
does that mean? That is like,
Great question.
that's a big problem.
Oh,
I mean, it sounds like
I
Is-
think we just eliminate it, right?
well, the burden of proof is on them, and just not have all those sentences
We
there.
don't need all that.
But the thing is that when somebody makes their application, or they talk to you, a lot of people talk to you beforehand,
Mhm.
right? Is there a way of giving them? I guess they just have to make sure that whatever they're asking for, they need to have all their i's dotted and all their t's crossed. So it has to be very clear to the planning board what exactly it is they're gonna be doing.
right.
No, I,
So, but how do you say that by having 3 contradicting sentences?
one of the things that I think is, I gotta be sure what we're talking about here.
What
Okay.
is the burden of proof?
Burden of proof.
Is that the
All right.
application?
So
Uh,
that term, okay,
Yeah, right.
I can talk about that meeting.
is already a problem. And,
Well, the burden of proof must be met by the plans and information provided at the time of application.
so, okay, so let's just, that's
Yeah,
one
what's the
statement.
definition of burden of proof?
What they're saying here is, does your project comply with the code of the town of Townsend? All of the code. And, well, that's all the planning board has to worry about.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah, right.
regulations and the bylaws of the town of Townsend that are in that code today. Everyone else has to worry about, the building commissioner will worry about the state laws and that. But
So-
for this board, the burden of proof is the applicant has to convince you that their project is compliant with the
Okay.
bylaws.
I think what this is all about is if a board, assuming ours,
Well, this is only for planning.
right?
This is only for planning.
Okay. If a project has a circumstance that we need more information on, or it needs a consultant, or it needs something, that the bylaw itself doesn't, if it didn't have it included, would not be a burden of proof. I know it's very confusing, right?
I'm freezing.
Oh, no, I know. You're gonna need a jacket.
I have a jacket on
That's right.
and my nose is cold.
I think the last sentence makes the most sense.
Since, yeah, I would get rid of the,
Get rid of the first sentence.
what if we just get rid of the second one too? Because I don't even understand what that's asking. Why we just have one sentence?
Where additional information may be necessary to satisfy the burden of proof in a particular situation. And such information is required, even though it may not be explicit requirement for the application. So, I think what they're talking about is this whole thing has all the requirements for the application in it. And if the board asks for additional information that and the applicant challenges that, why are you making me do this? Is that what we're talking about? Is the burden of proof here? And is that why this is in here?
The way I, at present, and interpreting bullet number 2, is that I feel like it's saying that the planning board, when we require an application, it's incumbent upon us to also look at all the regulations and have, you know, you have a checkbox next to whatever you need or put in any information so that we give them the opportunity to show the burden of proof. You know, tell us that they meet all the laws or rules, and if they don't, it's still on them. That's kind of how I'm feeling that that's supposed to mean,
Should,
directed towards us.
oh yeah, it's all planning board.
Yeah.
Burden of proof in all matters before the board, before the planning board. Do we have to add planning board? This is the planning board COLA. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Why don't, is that
The
okay?
submission is required by the planning board.
Yeah.
That makes that clear.
Yeah, and then the burden of proof must be met by the plans and information provided at the time of that. What about just 1 and 3? Add planning board and then 3.
Yeah.
And
Get rid of 2.
get rid of two,
Get rid of
I
two.
agree.
Because they have to do what the bylaws are to the, just what they are, that's what we're saying, to the planning board.
Yeah.
And then the burden of proof is on them.
Well, I think number 2 is there, that's the conversation, the line of conversation. Let's say you don't see what you think you should in the application, you're gonna work with the applicant as you normally do. That's number 2. You're gonna go at a public hearing and say, well, can you look at it? Can you provide test, soil test data? I'd like to see that. That's the number 2. That's the way I read it.
I'm wondering
And we
if
gotta
this.
change it because
It's,
What I'm concerned is who's doing what here, okay? So if the applicant says, turns around to the planning board and says, prove that you need this. Is that what this is about?
no,
That's not how I read it.
no, because like the need comes in with the waiver, right? Somebody needs a waiver.
Mhm.
But this is for the permit itself to follow the bylaw. This is that part of it.
I think you have the bookends of 1 and 3, and then number 2 is the area that you can work with your applicant, which you do anyway. You know, because you can't expect them to come in on a big project and have everything.
Right.
I don't, I mean, it just isn't.
Well, that's why
worth
they
it.
have a lawyer and that's why they have an engineer and that's why they have.
So should we get rid of that? 2?
It's a process.
I guess I kind of feel like I'm not opposed, but I feel like I see what Beth's saying. I
Mhm.
feel similarly that number 2 is saying,
what if we just,
It's gotta be simpler.
so where, number 2, where,
confusing.
why can't we just say where additional information may be necessary and get rid of that first sentence about the submissions required? This is,
Yeah,
and just put.
and that would be
where-
after they meet with the board.
Where additional information may be necessary, and just keep that part and get rid of the first sentence.
Like that?
Because that gives us the opportunity when, once this more information is needed, Cause that first sentence doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me,
The first sentence of two.
of two, yes.
I think what that means is they're just, you know, that's our application, the application. If the applicant comes in and provides, it's just saying that, you know, those are the basic requirements. And those are on the application. Those are things that you need to bring forward. However, if there's something missing, then, okay, we need a little more information. We're gonna just kindly say that.
Okay, I guess
I need to read.
if
It's
we
just
apply
very-
this,
It's not worded well.
Well, it's not
so
worded
if we
well.
apply this number 2 to the veterinarian project, for example,
Well, I don't think that can be discussed because currently that's under review at the CBA. So I prefer that was.
Yeah, okay.
discussed in a public
Well,
hearing.
I
Okay.
guess,
No,
and if we were applying this, in other words, if I'm understanding this properly, all the requirements are established to apply. Now, and then we talked about waivers on that. And then, I think this is meaning that if an applicant submitted something, it's their burden to prove that they met the requirements. That's really all this is about? Okay. All right.
Simply stated.
So it's already in item 1.
Andrew's working on something over here.
Well, I think that any land use permitting, you want to be user friendly. And I think this is number 2 is, okay, you might have missed something, let's talk about it, you know, but it's still on you to bring it.
Yeah, but we do this anyway. Say an applicant comes in,
I know.
he submits a site plan, okay? We get it here and we say, no, we want it done by a certified engineer,
Yeah,
okay?
that's a waiver, that's different, that's a waiver.
No, yeah, that would be a waiver. But if the applicant says, I gave you a site plan, I met the requirement. And we're here saying, no, we wanted it by a certified person. That is the burden of proof is on the applicant. Okay,
Mhm.
to say why we don't need that.
Yeah.
Is that, wouldn't that be a situation there? Okay.
Andrew's over there.
Yeah, I still have a problem with that too, but anyway.
So, you know, we'll see what you guys think. I guess I just changed the first sentence in terms of the subject, maybe, and I just wrote the way I felt that the planning board's application for submissions must attempt to, you know, ask for all burden of proof. And so it just says that all of our application, we're gonna make a well-intention to ask for everything that we need. And then we say subsequently, this doesn't mean that everything we ask for will be what we need. And then at the bottom, it says, it's still on you if we screw it up. That's how I feel like this is, maybe it isn't, you know, that's kind of what I feel like it's trying to say.
I'm good with it. I don't know.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of why we would need this clause. So if the board required a certain consultant or certain drawing or whatever it needed, the applicant would have to demonstrate why the burden of proof would be on him. Would say why we didn't need to require that. Going on further again.
Oh, maybe we should just leave it the way it is. Because
No.
we're killing ourselves.
Robert, I guess in some ways I feel like, you know, even though I haven't been here very long, we have this is kind of saying we have an amazing board and we're gonna ask for everything up front. But on the off chance there's a terrible planning board in the future and they say, let's change the application so we only ask for one thing. You know, this is kind of saying you can't just do that. You gotta ask for everything or try to make it as judicious as possible. That's what I'm walking away with, feeling that this is attempting to do in a clunky way.
It's okay, babe.
I think you're right, that's a valid point.
Well, yeah, because if you get something, you have the opportunity, so it gives the board the opportunity, if they see something is not compliant, that we can go back and ask. So maybe, I'm not sure how to say it any better
Well-
than what it's saying.
Can we
I-
use what Andrew said?
Did that add clarification or is that just a,
No,
yeah?
I gotta look at both sides of this. The community side and the applicant side. If a board now or in the future has an abundant number of requests and demands, that can be considered unfair and biased or whatever. So I think that's the topic we're dealing with here. So I appeal to all of you to come up with a better way to handle that than what it says here. So the burden of proof. So that means the applicant would have to prove that the requirements were excessive or extraordinary, or that's what this I believe is saying.
Yeah, I can see that side of it too.
Hmm.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So that would imply a legal matter, I would think.
probably because the bylaws are the bylaws. And if you can't meet the requirements of the application, it will require you going for a waiver.
No, but I could see
And that's a whole
how,
other thing.
I could see how a planning board, I'm not talking about us specifically, could use this to obstruct the project.
You really think that elected officials would do that?
I'm sorry?
I don't think elected officials would do that.
You can do it all the time, elected officials. They abuse their all the time.
I don't think humanity.
Maybe just, you know, we think about it overnight and if one of us comes up with some magic,
I don't have that magic.
You know,
I don't either.
actually, after talking about it, and I reread it after talking about it, now I can actually
see it.
see it the way it's written.
Understand it better,
Yeah, now I can understand it better,
the way it's written.
the way it's written. So now after just discussing it and rereading it, it's like,
Leave it alone.
I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Cause maybe just reading and not really understanding what, but after discussing it now, it's like, okay, now I see
The intent.
the intent and it's okay.
Well, maybe the applicant will read it a lot slower than we did the first time. So it doesn't sound like a bunch of mumble jumble. So is there, like in the beginning of the document, is there somewhere that says throughout this document, the board shall mean the planning board?
We did go over that. That's a good question, because I know we've already gone through the very first definitions. Remember we went through,
Yeah,
yeah, so 175. I'll look on the code.
okay. Because I think that needs to be done here. And I don't know if it's just put as a footnote so that when they're reading it, they know that every time they're reading about a board, that it's the planning board. And I looked at one of the other ones where it spelled out that it was with the Board of Selectmen. Yeah, right here in number 4. Employment and outside consultants refers to, well, it's funny because it refers to the planning board in number 4, excuse me, Board of Selectmen in number 4. And then number 5, it says the planning board. So I guess I want it always to say the planning board with, you know,
'Cause
it
even up
needs
at
to
the-
be consistent.
Even in the first paragraph, yeah, certain paragraphs say, the first paragraph, that's planning board, and then some places it does, and some places it doesn't, so.
And that may just be an easy fix throughout the document,
Right,
never to be discussed again.
right, clarification.
Yeah.
And just be consistent throughout the document.
Yeah, okay, good. It says in the title, part 4 regulations, planning board in the code. This chapter is the consolidated rules and regulations of the Townsend Planning Board, period.
So you either only say board and they understand that it's for the planning board and you eliminate planning anywhere, one or the other.
Yeah. So here it says Townsend Planning Board under title, under purpose. It says Townsend Planning Board, so, and I don't know if anywhere in the document it abbreviates that, you know, how in a legal
doesn't.
document it will say.
It either says board or
You're
planning,
absolutely
or some places it says the planning board.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So anywhere that change should be made. Okay. And do you want it to be Townsend Planning Board or Planning Board? Obviously it's Townsend, so, yeah.
Yeah, see, it's not, again, in 175-9, on page 4 at the top, it says the acceptance of the plan by the planning board does not make any street a public way. I mean,
Well, I think,
so,
yeah, it has to be uniform.
yeah, right.
Because if it's not, then somebody can cast doubt on what the
Yeah.
intent was.
Okay, great. All right.
Well, there was one catch for the night. That's throughout the document, so,
Right.
I'll scan it.
so are we just leaving it as is?
I think we probably better.
I'm okay with leaving it.
Yeah, I'm okay with leaving it, because
You are?
Okay,
I don't think we understood exactly
but I think we understand better.
what this was all about in the beginning.
it's just honestly to make it, clearer to the applicant in the long run, which is why we're going through it, so. All right, I was the last one, right? I was the burden of proof, right?
Yes.
F. Robert,
Oh. Massachusetts license is required. Whenever these rules require work to be performed by or under the supervision of a licensed professional, such professional must have a current license to perform such activity in Commonwealth of Massachusetts. temporary licenses or permits do not qualify. I think the last sentence is needed, it's self-explanatory.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's true.
These are required form by or under the city business license. Must have a current license to perform. Yep, we can eliminate that.
Okay,
Okay.
Somebody will just look for a way out.
right.
Want
Well-
to do 2?
Item 2, all insurance policies, bonds, or other such instruments must be issued by a company licensed to business in the claimant. That's okay.
Want to finish that section?
Public ways. The acceptance of a plan by the planning board does not make any street shown a public way. Existing laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and bylaws of the town must be complied with for the acceptance of any street. I think that does it all. H, servability. In any section, paragraph, sentence, clauses or provision of these regulations shall be adjudged not valid. The judge's adjudication shall apply only to the material so adjudged, and the remainder of the regulations shall be deemed valid and effective. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Is that necessary even? Separability of any action, paragraph, sentence.
Right, so in other
Oh,
words,
so
that
it's just
says that
legal.
if something is
mumble.
wrong, it doesn't
Make the whole
throw out the whole
thing.
Okay,
bylaw.
Probably one of those legal,
Mm,
yeah,
sounds like a legal
mm.
thing in there.
okay, Carol, on you.
All right, 175-10, general requirements for applications. A, forms 1. All applications must be on the most current version of the appropriate form. Required forms are found in Appendix A, required forms for subdivision control, which is a part of these rules or regulations. Applications may be rejected if they are not on the correct form. And 2, all applications must be complete. Applications may be rejected as incomplete if they omit required information or required supplemental forms.
Okay, Beth, to that, are all the forms dated? Yeah,
Oh, yes, Carol, thank you.
but
And
are,
they do have a date at the bottom.
do they have a date at the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a revised date. I put a revised date.
They're all
Very good, okay, and they're 2023 now?
Yes, because I did them, yeah, I did them.
Very recently.
Yeah,
Okay,
I did
very
that
good.
recently.
I just don't want to say something and then it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I think they're on every page, if I did it right.
Yes, I checked. You did a really nice job. I think we have a few that have to be changed by town meeting though, right? You had pointed those out. Some of them, the fees have to be changed.
Oh, yes,
By the
yeah,
board.
there's a couple of them that had to be changed only by town meeting, I said,
But
yeah,
everything that could be changed was.
was changed,
Yeah.
yes. And,
Where's the sunshine?
yeah,
This corner, this corner.
It's over here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah.
you must be standing in the right spot.
Oh,
Do you want me to keep going down here or what?
you can do, yeah, you can go ahead, do signatures.
The signatures. 1, all applications must be signed by all property owners of all parcels involved in the application. All plans must be signed by the licensed professional who prepared them. The application forms may indicate additional signature requirements. 2, if a parcel is held in joint tenancy, then all tenants must sign. 3, if a parcel is held, either partially or fully, by a trust, partnership, or corporation, then the application must be accompanied by the trust documents, partnership documents, or articles of incorporation, respectively, along with such documentation that will demonstrate that the individual signing the application have the authority to exercise control over the property. 4, if for some reason such as guardianship or power of attorney, some individual is authorized to exercise control of the parcel or share thereof on behalf of another, then documentation showing such guardianship or power of attorney or similar situation must be included with the application. And 5, if an individual other than an owner of the property is to represent the applicant before the board, then a power of attorney or similar document signed by the owner or owners must be included. This document must, at a minimum, authorize the representative to commit to paying consulting fees, to agree to conditions set by the board, and to sign agreements to extend deadlines.
And item 3, I don't know if we have any way of verifying any of those things.
Well, you do, if you have
You do?
the documents,
Yeah, you should have the trust.
you should have the trust documents, you should have, if, a power
Yeah,
of
but if
attorney,
they don't provide them, how do you know?
then they
That's false
haven't
application.
complied.
That's a, probably. a
I know, but if
federal-
I say to you, give me every and all documents, how do I know that person will?
Yeah, but you check public record.
Yeah.
For
Well,
ownership,
When you make an application, if it's a trust, it's written on there, you know, like,
you have to provide the trust.
you go to the, yeah, and you just, that's provided, it's a matter of
No,
honesty.
it's just a question. I
Yeah, yeah.
don't have a problem with the language.
Yeah, the language actually works very well,
Yeah.
because it has been, you know, there have been cases where
Yeah.
a trust, has applied for an application, and they provide the documents. It happens quite often with A&Rs, so you'll find that, you know, so. And we've also had cases where an individual has a power of attorney, so they provide a document, the attorney will provide documentation to that, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it's well written, it's actually.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
great.
You're in real estate.
Yeah, I absolutely understood
So how
that.
do they steal your house? You know, all those commercials about, you know, sign up for this because they're gonna come steal your title or something. How do
Because they're all scams and they have nothing else to do, just delete it.
Oh, well, yeah, I do, but I'm like, how do they steal your house? Or steal your title? I was like. Okay,
I don't know, there's scams all over.
It seems like all of this section has been prepared by some legal,
well, yeah.
Well,
it's
it's all
all
done
legal
over by,
language, and I don't
yeah.
know if we're
Yeah.
qualified to change it.
But I think we're just tweaking it. We're
Yeah.
not really
and
changing it.
this really does all make sense.
Yeah,
And this will, when your changes will go through our town council.
Right.
As well, before they're voted on,
Lord.
because he has office hours, so I'll give him your draft and your suggestions, and he'll say yea or nay.
Mhm.
Okay, if he says nay, it stays the way it is.
It's back to the
It's all-
drawing board.
It's all good.
Okay, do you just want to finish up with
City?
C?
Yes, B, all applications must include the associated fees at the time of application. Applications without such fees will be returned as incomplete without further review. In particular, any other omissions or inadequacies will not necessarily be identified. And, you want me to keep going?
Did you read that somewhere before, or am I just,
Did I leave something
is
out
that
there?
somewhere before in there? I feel like we just heard that.
Right about the fees?
Yeah.
No, unless it's in that other fee section with the consultant fees and stuff,
Yeah, I'm looking up on your fees.
because that would make sense.
But this is,
179 section B, did we read that?
I'm gonna have
I
Andrew
just
do
don't know if
plans.
that's duplicate is, but.
yeah, but we're under a different, number.
Oh, okay.
Because we're
Yeah.
in 175-10.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be duplicated.
Yeah, sorry.
It may say the same thing as 9, but it's. different.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I think it's because it's a different topic of fees.
Cause if you were just going through the bylaws and you just skipped over 9 and went to 10, you'd still need that.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you want to do, D plans?
All right, D, plans. All applications must be accompanied by required plans at the time of application. Such plans must be in the required form and contain all required data. The title or subdivision name shown on a plan or set of plans must exactly match that shown on the application. This title or name is used by the planning board as a reference and citation for the application. Inconsistencies or changes to the title create an unnecessary administrative cost to the board. 3, all plans must be 24 inches by 36 inches unless otherwise approved by the board. Plans showing lot line changes shall be submitted in digital format on a CD-ROM or flash drive in the standard outlined below, amended 11/6/2006 and 4/29/2013.
And just so you know, this is, we waive this a lot, right? Isn't this the one we waive? Or is it the
Oh,
The measurements?
40, yeah, the measurements?
Yeah,
We
you
have,
can waive that, the size of the plans, yes.
These,
And also there's like a, what's the other one, the
the-
ratio?
Isn't it the inch?
Yeah,
Oh, it's a scale.
the scale,
Yeah,
okay, is another thing that is waived. over.
these, what we're reading right now is what the professionals will go by. The requirements, they'll look at this in preparing their documents. The only thing I think that we want to consider is everything now is in a real digital format. And so CD-ROMs and flash drives are not, not the latest thing. So we probably want to edit that. And then the other thing, the other stuff here, I see myself a lot. So it's pretty standard. However, these digital documents now, often copies, and so one of the concerns right now is if they are original or not, and verifying them. And some of the digital copies are so well done, it's hard to designate. So in terms of registry of deeds, they require the documents, the final documents be on Mylar. I don't know if that's in here or not, but
It is, it's under the A&R.
it is,
requirement.
yeah. Okay, but that's the first thing I noticed was the,
So in 3, is there a way that we should be getting rid of CD-ROM or flash drive? Because in A, you've got standard digital file twice in A, in 3A, but yet the first paragraph of 3 and B both refer to CD-ROM or flash drive. So what do you want to do?
Well, can you make a suggestion, Robert, in terms of, I mean, I know that engineers have mentioned the type of file that they send, but they would prefer to send an A&R in a digital format.
right,
So can we lean on your expertise here in the field? How would we do document control on our end? Because we really shouldn't be using CD-ROMs or flash drives in our town computer.
No.
We're not allowed to.
Okay,
all right, so, and to make this, so we don't have to review it every 5 years because of new technology or whatever. So, I would leave it simple, like an acceptable or approved digital file.
Okay.
Then we're not locked into,
Okay.
CD-ROMs and
So-
stuff.
Where it says standard digital file, would that just go there? Or, I mean, is that something
No,
specific?
here, we're gonna submit it in a acceptable.
Okay, but what's the difference between an acceptable or a standard?
Electronic, a standard digital file. I thought that doesn't even need to be there, I don't think.
Okay, whatever.
So in every place where you refer to a file,
A digital file,
it should be standard or acceptable digital file?
right, because the technology can change.
Okay.
Acceptable to the town, I guess. And then some towns are behind and some are ahead, so. By the,
I can see
by
that.
the planning board.
Yeah. So can you would that be everywhere that you have reference to a file would now read acceptable digital file?
Right,
A digital file, plans.
I would
Or
say
acceptable.
town acceptable digital file,
Town acceptable.
right.
If there's a file.
So that
on-
burdens the consultants to
Find out what's
find
acceptable.
out what systems we're using.
Would it be a file or would it be a format?
That would be up to the town, what kind of format they wanted in.
Okay.
I
Right.
think digital is file.
Okay.
Not that I'm that tech
So,
savvy.
for example,
I'm technically challenged.
so right now we have the new building permit application. Those can be submitted, loaded up, downloaded on the permit. Basically, you're gonna have a copy of the actual file
Yeah,
or a PDF of it.
yeah.
And usually they're PDFs, so they can't be altered. But they are altering PDFs now, so,
Yeah.
so at some point, there has to be a certification on the file, I would think. And that would be signatures from this board and signatures on the actual printed copy accepted by the town of Townsend, accepted by the Townsend Building Department or whatever.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to move this along here, because we all agree on that.
right, so that's B and A.
And 3,
Keep going, you want me to skip A and B?
It's all
Read
true.
those,
Oh, you gotta modify,
Yeah.
so I haven't read them.
yeah.
Oh,
I'll
you can read
quick
them
one.
and we're gonna change the,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, 3A, to facilitate the maintenance of the town's records and assessors, tax maps, and electronic file, parentheses, the standard digital file, of definitive subdivision plans and plans for which approval under the subdivision control law is not required pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81P, shall be filed with the planning board at the time the original copy, hard copy is submitted. The standard digital file shall comply with level 3 of the current versions of the Mass GIS standard for digital plan submission to municipalities. Hereafter, the standard. Available on the internet by searching mass.gov. The vertical datum shall be the North American Vertical Datum 1988. Section B, upon written request, the planning board may waive the requirement for submitting the standard digital file in compliance with level 3 and may allow submission of a standard digital file that complies with level 2 or any image format on a CD-ROM or flash drive. Any request for a waiver must include a statement as to why submitting any other level or format should be allowed.
Okay, so now that's said a lot more times in there. So standard. Cause it,
I'm concerned a lot of this language is outdated.
Yeah.
So I think we're probably better off just leaving it at the local town.
town acceptable digital
formats.
file, yeah,
All right,
and I don't,
and any current mass general laws.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
okay.
We're good, on to the next one.
Yeah, so I think that, you got the gist of to tell town council and he'll
Yeah,
recommend what should go in there for verbiage.
excellent, okay.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
section 4.
yeah,
All plans must be prepared by a licensed professional engineer and licensed land surveyor, and where appropriate, a licensed landscape architect or other professional. 5, each page of a set of plans shall have a title block in the lower right-hand corner. This must show, at a minimum, the title, the name of the subdivision, if any, the date, the scale, the names and addresses of the property owners, the names and address of the applicant, if different from the owner, and the names and seals of the designer, engineer, and surveyor who made the plan. A page number, the total number of pages, and all other information required by the applicable CMR, registry rules, or land court rules. 6, each page shall have the signature of the licensed professionals who prepared the plan. At least one page shall have the seal and signature of said professionals and a statement asserting that said plan was based on an actual field survey and produced in accordance with all requirements under Central Mass regulations. 7,
is that what CMR is?
no, not Central, Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Massachusetts regulations.
Beth? Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations, is that what CMR is?
Yeah, that's, you want that expanded in there?
Somewhere,
Yeah. Okay, define.
whether it's on the first page saying here in,
Yeah.
or set forth, CMR stands for,
Yes, the acronyms are not good.
no, okay.
7,
Yeah.
each page of a set of plans shall have a legend. 8, where more than one revision of a plan has been submitted to the board, all revised plans must have a revision history adjacent to the title block as required by the applicable CMR, and also indicating the nature of purpose of the revision.
Okay, what's a legend?
Block.
Another block?
Yeah,
Yes.
there'd be a lot of symbols,
Okay,
and when you see that symbol on a drawing, it tells you what it is. This is a fence, this is a stone
oh, the
wall.
legend tells you what each thing is, okay. Never heard of it, okay.
9, on all plans, any area of land that does not meet the current frontage, acreage, or other dimensional zoning requirements shall be labeled a parcel. And any area of land that meets all dimensional zoning requirements, a lot. Lots shall be assigned consecutive numbers, while parcels shall be assigned consecutive capital letters. Plans that use the term lot to describe areas that do not meet both the frontage and acreage requirements will be rejected. 10, the North American Vertical Datum of 1988, NAVD 1988, shall be indicated and described on all plans, and at least one benchmark shall be located on site. The planning board may, at its discretion, waive this requirement on small or low impact applications. Amended 9/27/2010.
So this may be the last time that this number 10 has been checked. Do we,
Sounds like 2010.
yeah, so are we, how do we get updated on this NAVD?
I think that would be a really good question for either the building commissioner or, town council, he could review the regs.
Yeah, you just
But
want to
if I
check that.
recall, this was brought up by one of the engineers that works with the planning board frequently. Do you recall too? I think that this has come up as an issue, this, particular,
NAVD?
the benchmark. Yeah, but there is a waiver allowed. But,
Only for
Yeah, but how do we know what
small
we're
low
waiving?
tech applications.
yeah, it seems quite dated. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't, but this is referring to, grade elevations and surveying standards.
Hmm.
They don't change that frequently, so, we need to ask somebody,
Okay.
what the current. And maybe the way to do it is not even put dates in the current, you know. the
Oh, and just
current
say current?
standard. Yeah,
And
I mean,
still
I'm
for
just saying
us,
that so we don't have to keep
yeah, I
watching
get
all
it,
this
right?
stuff.
I get it. But why, I guess what I'm thinking is this is in here. We should know what that benchmark is.
It's
So
on the
when we're-
drawings. Oh,
Yeah, I know, but when we're looking at the plans and they put a benchmark, what reference do we have that that's a correct benchmark?
you have a certified surveyor
Right.
Oh,
certifying.
so we don't have to know.
Yeah, you don't have to, but if they don't, if they ask for a waiver, you can waive it.
Okay,
Maybe just
but we
say,
need to know what we're
wait,
waiving.
how
is
about
what-
if we just say the North American vertical datum and we'll eliminate the dates
Mhm.
shall be indicated on the plan.
And just say the current
Yeah.
North American vertical datum?
And that's the proper organization, that they still exist, they're not demoted.
They're the ones that do it,
Oh,
so,
they're the ones that do it.
I mean, all surveyors refer to that.
Okay,
Okay.
then I'm
So
good
on
with
agency,
current,
That's going away then.
but we need to know, you need to know what that is in planning, in the land use office. They need to be up on what's the current one.
No,
No, why not?
because what you have is you have a surveyor
Oh, the surveyor is the one
is
responsible for the
making a
current.
statement that this is accurate.
All right,
And so that would say, okay, this is the corner of the lot. This is the benchmark I took it from down the road where there was an actual real one. And I surveyed it up to this lot, established this corner,
okay.
all right?
I get what that is now. A surveyed benchmark,
Right,
a surveyed marker.
right. So that we know that the deed on that lot will be.
Yeah.
Of,
Okay,
the bound will be where it's gonna be
okay,
based on some other standard of benchmark.
all right. I don't think we're gonna make it through this whole section. I'll do the E, so that finishes up page 6 and get us out of here by 9. The June 12th meeting, do we have any public hearings?
Nothing right now.
Okay, so we can continue this on the 12th and maybe finish this section.
I'll be remote then,
Okay,
just for the record.
okay.
I'm sorry,
I'll be remote on the 12th.
you're gonna be where?
Remote, I'll be in
Remote.
Savannah,
Oh,
Georgia.
yeah. Oh, yeah, I thought you were going golfing.
I don't go.
I don't
Too
either.
much time in the woods.
I get teed off.
Okay, E, submission of applications. 1, all applications must be submitted in accordance with the requirements of Mass General Law 41, Section 810, or 81-0. Specifically, they must be submitted at a meeting of the planning board or by registered or certified mail. And there and again, you've got your inconsistency of the planning board. Here they're saying planning board, and many places they don't. So maybe, does anybody have a preference? Maybe they just all say planning board?
I like when it says planning board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It also says select board in there.
It's,
Yeah.
those are clearer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, I'm good with that. 2, applications must be submitted at a meeting of the planning board will be considered received on that date. Applications submitted via registered or certified mail will be considered received on the date of receipt. 3, applications may be delivered to the office of the planning board in person, via carrier or other delivery service, or via ordinary, non-registered, non-certified mail. Such applications will, as a courtesy to the applicants, be forwarded to the planning board at its next regularly scheduled meeting. The effective date of receipt will be the date of that meeting. However, delivery in this manner does not comply with Mass General Law, Section 41, Chapter 41, Section 881(0), and is done at the applicant's risk. Neither the town nor the planning board will guarantee that the plan submitted in this manner will be delivered to the planning board.
The town, nor the planning board.
I guess that's telling them. If they
You're like, oh,
want to risk
I'm not gonna
the
give it
US
to the
mail.
planning board.
Okay, well, at least it's written out. 4, delivery of applications directly to the town clerk does not satisfy the requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 810, and will not be accepted or considered as filed. 5, after submitting an application to the planning board, it is the responsibility of the applicant to comply with the requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81T, by filing a notice with the town clerk stating that the date of submission of such application. The planning board will provide upon request a receipt for applications submitted at a meeting of the planning board. For applications delivered by certified or registered mail, the United States Postal Service return receipt will be the evidence of date of receipt by the planning board. A copy of either of these shall be furnished to the town clerk as part of the notification required under Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81T, notification to the town clerk prior to actual receipt of an application as defined by Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 810. Or O. I just, because there's a T on the other one, this must be O. Shall be invalid. 6, acceptance of an application does not constitute a finding that the application is complete. The planning board retains the right to reject incomplete applications according to the procedures described in these rules. I think those are all pretty clear
Right. What about the
and
fines?
blunt.
The dates and the fines? Rejection of.
Rejection of incomplete applications. 1, if an application is rejected because it is incomplete, it is treated as if no application was made, except that fees will not be refunded for incomplete applications. So when you give it back to them to complete, is there then another fee?
Usually not. I tend to try to work with the
Okay.
engineers and the applicants, because these can be, you know, the permitting process can be
Yeah,
a little confusing, so.
okay.
Well, that's what happens when somebody withdraws an application.
And
They don't get
they
that
can
back.
withdraw it without penalty, but if they reapply, then yes, you collect
Yeah.
another fee.
Right.
Yeah, my experience is
That I
it's
can-
generally a back and forth with all of these
Yeah.
ARs, you know what I mean? It's like they come to you, they're missing something, the board, grants leniency, yeah, go get this and you bring it back.
Okay, 2, if an incomplete application is resubmitted within 6 weeks or 42 days of the date of rejection for A&R applications, or 8 weeks, 56 days for subdivision applications, then it may include a request for waiver of a portion of the new fees. Such waiver will be granted solely on the discretion of the board, and in no case will be the reapplication fee. And in no case will the reapplication fee be waived to less than $50 for A&R applications or less than $100 for subdivision applications. How often does that happen?
Nothing I've been here.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
Does this make sense? Does the 6 weeks or 8 weeks make sense?
I guess I don't know, because I've never
Well,
seen it happen.
You have to put a timeline on it,
Yeah,
so,
you can't just have.
and then, so if the application isn't completed within that time frame,
They could
It's-
resubmit within that
it's-
time.
it's no longer valid, right?
Right, right? If they don't resubmit or complete it within that time frame,
Then it's like
That's
there
not
was no
valid.
application.
I guess I'm having to read that one a few times.
6 weeks or 8 weeks, so a month and a half or 2 months. That gives plenty of time to make a planning board meeting.
Right. So what that basically says, number 2, they have X number of days to complete the application. Unless the board gives them a waiver, which we have done before.
Mhm.
And in no case will the reapplication be waived. So there's no waiver of a reapplication fee. And it's just the amounts we're looking at and the dates.
Yes, I mean, I
I don't
think this
see
is
there's
good.
anything wrong there. Except maybe you might want to increase the fees and when this gets set up.
What are the fees? Where they say, reapplication fee be waived to less than $50 or the other is $100. So what's the original fee when they go bring in the finished one?
When they
What are they
reapply.
saving?
Yeah, it's actually dependent on how many parcels and how many lots are being, you know.
Oh,
subdivided.
oh.
Like
And those are,
$75 a lot and then 75 for the original lot and so it's, remember the fee schedules that it's, A&R fees are project dependent on proposal.
right, except I'm not
Yeah,
remembering.
but this is not
But
talking
this-
about the
this is
lots.
just-
or- This is
The application fee.
Yeah,
a reapplication fee.
shall not be waived to less than, it could be more,
Mhm.
but that's the least that they would be. So I'm wondering,
That's low.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
gotta open up that whole file again and go through everything again. right?
Yeah.
I think it's gotta be like 150 or 200. 150 and 200, you know what I mean?
I agree.
Just time.
Yeah. I agree.
What do you guys think?
100 for A&R and then.
Well, 150 and 300 maybe.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, 150 and 300. It makes sense. I mean, the other just. And I think time is still good. Because they still can make between 6 and 8 weeks, they can make a planning board meeting. Right?
So a waiver can be granted, okay? And the reapplication fee is 150 to 300.
Okay, I will now. And since we don't have anything booked yet for the 12th, that can still be a work session. And, whatever else we have to deal with. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:58 PM.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call vote, please.
Carol Hobbs says yes.
Robert, they're in.
Was that a yes?
Yes.
Andrew Shepherd, yes.
Laura Schifrin, yes.